Mr. President. I'm so honored by that introduction and to be here on the floor with a great colleague, a champion in the House as well as now in the Senate, Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. And I thank the senior senator, we were both senior senators from our respective states from Maryland, for yielding first to me. And more important, I want to thank him for his leadership on human rights and civil rights here in the United States. He has been such a powerful advocate, but also around the world through the Helsinki Commission. I've had the great privilege of working with him and serving with him on that commission, where he has put front and center the crimes against humanity committed in Ukraine, as well as other parts of the world where the rule of law, unfortunately, is lacking. And so I am very, very proud to be with him on the floor today. Like my colleague, Senator Durbin, who has been rightly lauded by Senator Cardin for his work on rights, I rise to ask this body and all who are hearing this message to commit to making the Equal Rights Amendment the law of our land, a part of the Constitution. Outside of the right to vote, the Constitution has no mention of gender equality. It was enshrined, the right to vote, just over a century ago by the 19th Amendment, but the United States Constitution does not exclude an explicit provision on equal rights for women. And that is a sad omission that cannot be allowed to stand. We must fix it. The ERA, as you know, was introduced to Congress in 1923 by the suffragette leader, Alice Paul, who believed that after securing the right to vote, women needed legal protection against discrimination. That fact is no less true today than it was then. In 1972, the ERA was passed by Congress. In 2020, Virginia became the 38th and final state required by the Constitution to ratify it. In January 22, we passed the 2-year waiting period. President Biden has supported making it the law of the land. We should heed President Biden and this body in doing so and recognizing the importance of a resolution ratifying the ERA. Now, the hard, blunt truth here is that significant progress in sex equality has been made thanks to a generation of advocates, actually several generations. But women and girls still face horrendous, life-changing barriers and challenges derived from structural sex discrimination every day. And I became more aware of it as a dad to a young woman, listening to her, seeing the world through her eyes, as well as my wife, Cynthia, both of them strong advocates, and thankfully, my 3 sons as well, who are ardent champions of gender equality. In the workplace, the gender gap has hardly budged. You are, I'm sure, aware that women now earn about 84 cents for every dollar a man earns. That's a statistic from the Department of Labor. And the disparity is even larger for women of color. For every dollar a man earns, Native American women and Latinas earn 57 cents, and black women earn 67 cents. That's in the greatest country in the history of the world. We should be ashamed and embarrassed. Ashamed and embarrassed. The ERA is a critical step toward ensuring equality and protecting women's fundamental rights, including the right to abortion and conception. The Supreme Court overturned 5 decades of precedent, eliminated the constitutional right to abortion in Dobbs, saying Roe was wrong, a decision that will go down in infamy as one of the most destructive to the court's credibility, as I mentioned today, a tribute to the disingenuousness of 3 nominees before this body, the 3 most recent nominees, who who said they would respect precedent, and then voted to completely overturn Dobbs within a couple of years. About 1 in 3 girls and women in the United States of reproductive age are living in states where abortion is either unavailable or severely restricted. And the adverse consequences of for women's health are already clearly visible. Amanda Zurowski today testified before the Judiciary Committee about how she nearly died, nearly perished from sepsis because of Texas's cruel, barbarous prohibitions against women's health care through abortion. Without the freedom to control their own lives, bodies, and futures, true meaning of equality will remain elusive and out of reach. As Justice Ginsburg put it, full and equal citizenship, quote, is intimately connected to a person's ability to control their reproductive lives, end quote. The ERA would also provide additional tools against violence committed all too often against women. Gender-based violence is a form of sex discrimination as well as a violation of human rights. 35% of all women who are killed by men are a result of violence from intimate partners with guns. 1 in 3 women have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 5 women in the United States have been raped. You can dispute the specific numbers, but the overwhelming truth of sex discrimination in violence, in denial of health care, in job inequality, in pay discrimination is there for all to see. We all know it exists. We must act against it. And that is why I'm proud to stand here with my colleagues and argue that ratification is an idea long overdue. It's not an idea whose time has come. It came long ago. And we have an obligation to act as a matter of conscience and conviction. If we care about women in the United States of America in the 21st century, we need to bring the law into the 21st century and do what should have been done long ago to protect women's health and security, as well as fundamental equality. Let me just close with a favorite quote of mine from Susan Anthony. And she stated, "The true republic, men their rights and nothing more. Women their rights and nothing less. Sex equality deserves a permanent home in the Constitution. The time to make it happen is now." Thank you, Mr. President.